and welcome. Welcome to today's live Pivot with Purpose. I am so excited to connect with y'all today. It is going to be a good one. Look here, it's going to be good. So my name is Susana Briscoe-Alba, lead career strategist at Dunamis Coaching and Consulting Services, and I am pumped to get into this live with y'all today. If you are watching me, we are live in a couple of places, okay? We're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on IG and Facebook. So if we get disconnected anywhere, honey, know that you have a couple places to find me. So I'm pumped to get started. If you are ready, I want you to type ready in the chat because I am about to give you a whole lot of tea for those of you who are in a season where you are trying to pivot. You're trying to either leave your current employment or you're trying to find how you can leverage your transferable skills and what you need to be paying attention to. This is something that I have done in my career, and I am going to be sharing with y'all in hopes that this will help someone else. So if this is your first time catching a live, welcome. My name is Susana Alba. If this is your first time, I want you to drop a 1 in the chat and tell me where you are watching me from. If you are not new to this, but you are true to this tribe, I want you to drop a 2 in the chat and tell me where you are watching me from. So if you're not new to this, but you're true to this, drop a 2 in the chat and tell me where you're watching me from. And if you're catching this on the replay, I want you to comment replay and let me know that you were here. Okay. Hey, friends. Hey. All right. So if this is your first time catching a live, I want you to drop a 1 in the chat and tell me where you're watching from. And if this is not your first time, if you are true to this tribe, I want you to drop a 2 in the chat and tell me where you're watching from. Now, listen, we got started. I got excited. I ain't got my glasses, so I can't see y'all. Let me put those on. But today we're going to be talking about pivoting with purpose, okay? Because a lot of y'all have asked me. Here we go. Hey, squad, I can see you now. Okay. A lot of you have asked me, or you're in a place where you're trying to transition. And so what are your next steps? So I see Florida is in the building. I see Texas is in the house, Bali, ATL. Did I say Kentucky? I feel like Kentucky is in the house. Manchester is in the house. All right. So for those of you who are 2s, here's what I want you to do. I want you to welcome the 1s. Okay. For those of you who are 2s, I want you to welcome the 1s. Brooklyn, BK is in the house. Listen, New York is my home state. I'm originally born and raised in the Bronx. So whenever I see New Yorkers, listen, I get it. Boston is in the building. Canada is in the house. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Jersey is in the house. South Carolina, Jersey girl. Philly is in the building. I love it. So here's what we're going to do. The 2s, you are going to welcome the 1s for me, okay? Welcome them in the chat. Let them know what they're about to get into, okay? Because if you are a 2, you've been through a live with me before. If you are new to this, I am going to encourage you to have something to write with because I am going to be giving you major tea. I'm going to be moving fast. So I hope that you're not listening slow. And we are about to get into subject matter material. So for those of you who are in a season where you are trying to pivot, the first thing that I want to talk to you about is understanding this part. Your experience is your currency. Your experience is your currency. Susana, what does that mean? Number 1, you need to be able to identify what are your transferable skills, okay? And what networks do you already have? When we're talking about making a pivot, you have to be able to identify what are the things that I'm already good at, what are the areas where I would like to grow, and where I can get the highest ROI. ROI meaning return on investment. So before you start to make a pivot, I need you to understand that the experience that you have is already your currency. It's not that you need another certification. It's not that you need to go back to school. It's not that you need other people's validation. Your experience already and your proximity to be able to solve problems is already enough for you to get started and to dominate. Okay, so that's the first thing. Your experience is your currency. The second thing that I need you to understand, I told y'all I was going to be moving fast and I have my notes in front of me, baby. Be ready. The second thing that I need you to understand and that I am going to give you today is that I am going to give you the permission to dream again. Permission to dream again. Many of the clients that work with us have been in their roles for 10 years, 15 years, 5 years. And here's what you've been told. You know that it is time for you to pivot. But you've been told a whole lot. Okay. And sometimes it's been told by people who care for you, people who have your best interest at heart, but people who are also afraid for you. And because they have not been able to pivot themselves, they project their fear onto you. You want to know what it sounds like? You ready to hear what it sounds like? If you're ready to hear what it sounds like, I want you to drop a 3 in the chat. I'm coming in hot. Rochelle Nicole, my love, thank you so much for putting it in the comments. Rochelle, I need a moderator on IG. So if you're open to be my moderator, honey, just let me know and I will tag you because you are putting the gems in the chat and I appreciate you. So if you're ready to hear what you've been told before, I want you to drop a 3. Okay, I'm seeing some 3s on IG. I'm seeing some 3s on YouTube and possibly on LinkedIn. Here's what you've probably been told, again, by well-meaning people. You're too late to switch careers. It's too late. Nobody's going to hire you. Maybe you've told yourself that. Okay, baby, I'm going to add you as my moderator. All right, y'all. Rochelle, give it up for our girl. She is going to be moderating for us, okay? So she's going to be dropping the gems in the chat. I love it. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. All right, so here's what you've heard. You've heard it's too late for you to switch careers. Maybe you've been telling yourself that. Maybe you've lived in that lie for a long time. Or you've heard starting over means that you have to go backwards. Starting over means that you have to start at the bottom. Starting over means that you have to just get your foot in the door. How many times have we heard that? Or maybe you've heard your experience doesn't transfer. You don't have what it takes. And this is why you believe the lie that you have to go back to school or you have to go back to get a certification or you have to get somebody else's validation. Or you've heard, you got to accept the lower position. You've got to accept the lower position. Now, I'm telling you these things because these are things that I heard. If you have heard any of those, I want you to type an amen. If you have heard any of those, I want you to type an amen, A-M-E-N. And this is why I teach the way that I do and I go so hard. Because you've probably been told one of those 4 things. Right? Oh, my other one that I've heard too is you have to accept lower pay. You have to accept lower pay because you don't have it yet. But here's what's actually true. Okay, here's what's actually true. Your experience adds immediate value. Your experience adds immediate value. Secondly, you have to leverage your unique perspective, or what I have told my clients, understand your UVA, your unique value add. Okay. Thirdly, you need to be able to understand that skills translate across industries. Let me give you an example. Before I launched Dunamis and what you see today, I was operating at a nonprofit organization where we got hit with having to do all of our events from in-person to virtual. Do you know what that taught me to do? It taught me how to build relationships virtually. It's the reason why you join a live with me today and you feel like, dang, I feel like she's speaking to me, or dang, I look forward to hearing from Susana, or I feel like I have some connection to her. That didn't just happen because one morning I woke up and I decided, oh, I'm just going to turn on this live and see what happens. And hopefully somebody will join. This is why I'm telling you that your skills will translate across industries. So if anyone has told you the lie that your experience doesn't transfer, I am living proof that that is not true. You just need to know how to leverage it. Okay. The next thing is that you need to be able to negotiate from strength, not from a place of lack. You need to be able to negotiate from a place of strength and not from a place of lack. So if you've been told you have to accept a lower position or you have to accept lower pay, the counter to that is to be able to negotiate from a place of strength. So the first thing that I told you when we started was that your experience is currency. The second thing that I'm telling you is that you have the permission to dream again. You have to be very mindful in this season when you're trying to pivot that you can't listen to everybody, because not everybody has your best interest at heart. Okay? So I've just told you what are some of the common lies that people have heard or you have told yourself, and what is the truth that you need to be operating in. So here's the recap of the lies. This is what you've been told. You're too late to switch careers. You know how I know that? Because it's in my DMs. Many of you are telling me, "Oh, I'm 50 this, I'm 60 this, I'm 30 this, I'm 40 this. Nobody's going to hire me." Not true. Not true. We see it with our clients. Or you've heard the lie, starting over means that you have to go backwards, or you have to go back to school, or you have to go get another certification or something like that. Depending on the industry, that may be true. But more often than not, you have to be able to identify, what is my UVA? What is my unique value add? Your experience doesn't transfer. That's another lie that I've heard. And I'm telling you this from a place of just doing this work day in and day out. So when you're in a season of pivoting, these are some of the things that you've probably heard or you've told yourself. And I'm here to break that for you. Okay. So far, I've told you two things. I've told you that your experience is currency. So you need to be able to identify what are your transferable skills and understand the power of the networks that you already have. And the second thing is that you have the permission to dream again. I want you to operate from a place of truth and not from a place of fear, because fear is keeping you stuck. Okay. Now, remember how I told you at the beginning that you are going to want to write some stuff down? I'm about to introduce you to my pivot framework. Okay. And here are you're going to want to write down these letters. Okay. So if you're taking notes, pivot is PIVOT. PIVOT. That's what pivot stands for. That's how you write it out. The first thing when you are trying to make a purposeful pivot is you have to understand your why and what are your core values. If you're only making a pivot based off of a salary or a monetary number, you are always going to find yourself unfulfilled. If you are only making a pivot based off of a salary and or a number, then you are always going to find yourself unfulfilled. So you need to identify what is your why and what are your core values. The second thing that you need to do is you need to take inventory. This is why I told you to identify what are your transferable skills. You need to be able to categorize and catalog what are your skills, what are your strengths, and what assets you have. So one of the things that we teach our clients is to identify their shape. You've heard me talk about it before. If you're not new to the Susana Alba world, you've heard me talk about the shape before. Your strengths, your heart, your ability, your personality, and your expertise. You need to take inventory of those things, because when it gets hard, as pivoting does get, you need to have an anchor. So like that, you know the value that you bring. If you got it, I want you to say got it, because I got another 3 letters to give you and I don't want you to miss this. So if you got the P and the I want you to type got it. I'm going to grab some water because I feel like I'm already on fire. We're 15 minutes in. If you got it, I want you to type got it in the chat. Let's see. I'm not seeing y'all. All right, y'all are coming through. I love it. I love it. All right. Now listen, many of y'all have been a part of my world for some time. And you've seen that I do resume boot camps, right? You want to know the reason why I do that so much? Is because the purpose behind the resume boot camp is so that you know how to prepare and equip yourself. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't understand this framework, your resume will always be bland. Okay? So listen, I'm going to give you the T right now, and then I'm going to give you the rest of the letters. We're hosting another one on May 7th. And so if you comment the word pivot right now on IG, you'll get the link to join us. Okay? So if you comment the word pivot right now on IG, you will get the link to join us. Continuing with the pivot framework, the first thing that I talked about was understanding your purpose. Define your why and what are your core values. Okay? Secondly, you need to take inventory of your skills, your strengths, and your assets. This is where your shape comes in. The V is for your vision. The V is for your vision. Why do you need to have vision? Because if you're not able to speak to your vision of what you see happening, of the value that you want to bring, no one's going to believe you. So you'll sit at an interview, they'll ask you, why do you think you're a good person for this role? And you'll just be like, because kinda, I'm not. What? If you don't believe it for you, how do you expect me as a hiring manager to believe it? So you have to be able to articulate your vision. And this doesn't have to be an overly long process. I want you to sit in silence, set a timer for 10 minutes, and start thinking through what is the life that you want to lead. What is it that sets your heart on fire? How is it that you want to operate 6 months from now, 12 months from now? What is it going to take? What kind of supports do you need? That is how you start to craft the vision for what you want. So like that, when you're looking for a job, you're not sitting on some of these job boards intimidated by titles. How many has that happened to? Come on, I'm in your business. I know I am. How many of you have gone to a job board and you've seen a title and it freaks you out? And immediately you go, I'm not ready. I need more time. Or better still, the title scares you. Like you can't even articulate why. You just look at the title, you're like, oh gosh, ooh, that sounds scary. Baby, it's not even that much. You want to know how I know this stuff? Y'all, I promise you, this past week on Thursday, I had a meeting with a client of mine. Super brilliant. This woman has incredible background working with the CIA, the FBI, local police department, like all of the things. And we started to look at some of the job descriptions that she was afraid of. And we started to rank them based off of what they put on the responsibilities. And at first value, at looking at the title, she was like, I can't do it. I can't. I'm scared. So then we started to look at the responsibilities. And she was like, oh, I do that. I'm doing that already. Oh, I could do that with my eyes closed. Oh, Susana, this is not as scary as I thought. I know that. I know. But because we have not set a clear and definitive vision of what it is that we want to pursue, you'll always be tied to or worried by what the title is. And how many of us can agree that we have managers or we have supervisors or we have current leaders that have a whole lot of a big title, but ain't got the wherewithal to back it up? Has anybody been there? Where you've been working with somebody and you're like, dang, how'd you end up in this role? You don't know how to attach a PDF and you are a director? Somebody make it make sense. Come on. Am I speaking truthfully? Come on. So you need to be able to identify what is your vision. Okay, so we talked about the P, which was the purpose, the I, which was taking inventory, the V stands for vision, the O stands for opportunities. Opportunities. The reason that we're going to identify opportunities is because not every possibility is one that you should be pursuing. So this is why we want to be able to identify opportunities. But if you have not done the first three, it's going to be really hard for you to identify what your opportunities are. Okay? And I don't have time to break down how you can identify opportunities. You just going to have to come to the to the boot camp, because during the boot camp, I break down some of these job descriptions and how to identify if it's a possibility for you or not, or if it's an opportunity for you or not. All right, the last thing, the last T. The T in the pivot framework is your timeline. How long are we waiting to make this transition? What is your timeline? Because here's another thing that I see working with women. Again, super ambitious, wonderful, talented women. And I also work with men. And I also see this with men, but I see it more with women. So you don't have a timeline. And some of you are sitting in positions that you've known for a solid 6 months to a year that it's time for you to go. But you have not created a timeline. You don't even know where to start. This is why I start with your resume. But I digress. You don't even know where to start. So you don't set a timeline. So another 6 months go by, and now you're at a point where you are so burnt out. You're ready to pull your hair out. And you're calling out to me or my team or somebody, and you're just desperate for a change. But you have not set a timeline for when you want to get this thing done. And some of you need to start pivoting with purpose right where you're at. You're waiting for the best possibility to come your way, but you have not put action behind it. So, okay, we know that we want to get out of this role in the next 12 months. Have you assessed what are your transferable skills? Have you taken the time to see what are the gaps and how you are a solution to the problem? Have you taken the time to assess what is your unique value add and how you can bring about transformation and change? And then have you set a timeline? By this point, I want to be able to have at least 5 or 6 new connections in this industry. By this point, I want to be able to move into this role or have a conversation with my leadership team. By this point, if I have not gotten a response from my leadership team, I'm going to set the timer so that I can start applying to X position or to X conversation or making myself more visible X, Y, and Z. You know why you have to do that in certain cases? Because in certain organizations, what they'll do for you is that they'll dangle a carrot in front of you. They'll dangle it in front of you. And so they'll tell you, okay, in 6 months, we'll take a look at it again. 6 months comes again. We don't have the budget right now. And so we have to wait a little while. Maybe in 3 months, we'll take a look at it again. But we value you so much. We appreciate you so much. And then in another 6 months, you find yourself chasing the proverbial carrot again. You know what moves people? Action. So that when they tell you that again, by the time you have that conversation, you can say, okay, that's no problem. Well, based off of what I have done research on, I've received these offers. And so I'm happy to stay here, but could you match this offer? Action. Action is what moves people. But too many times we have all of our eggs in one basket. And listen, don't get me wrong. It gets scary out in these streets, y'all. Especially if you are in the United States. Especially if you are a woman. It gets all kinds of scary. But this is why you have me. It's not by coincidence that you came across my page or you came across my profile, because this is the type of talk that I wish somebody would have had with me when I was making my pivot. So to recap, okay, I'm going to share with you my pivot framework. Identify your purpose. Take inventory of your skills, your strengths, and your assets. Get clear on what your vision is. Identify what are your opportunities, and then set a timeline. Okay? So that's my pivot framework. Now, for some of y'all are like, Susana, you moving too fast. But I want to make sure that you understand this part, because to all of what I just shared with you, the next step after you've gone through that pivot framework is to start networking. And for some of us, networking has not been safe. And we get very uncomfortable and we get very nervous. We feel like we don't know what to say. We feel like we don't want to just reach out to people cold, because that feels kind of weird. Or we make it so much bigger in our heads and then we don't take any action. Okay? I'm going to give you a simple networking script. Real simple, that you can start with the people that you're already connected to. It does not have to be complicated. It does not have to be difficult. You can start with what I'm going to give you. Okay? So here's your networking script, because I'm going to move fast. The first thing is you need to make an introduction, whether they know you or they don't. You're going to say, hi, name, I'm such and such, and I'm currently exploring opportunities in Y. That's your intro. Your bridge is going to be, my experience translates to Y because my experience in X translates to Y because yada, yada, yada. Okay? Or you can say, I'm looking to leverage my skills in whatever your skill set is. So I gave you the intro, I just gave you the bridge, and now I'm going to give you the ask. Could I get your thoughts on, and you finish that sentence, or who else should I connect with? So again, I gave you the intro, I gave you the bridge, and I gave you the ask. One of the things that I've gotten really good at, especially when I am speaking on stages or when I'm connecting with other people, is that I will ask them, who do you know that you think I should know to? Who do you know that you think I should know to? And the reason that I ask that is because likely, if they're already connected to me, if they've heard me speak, if we met at a conference, if we've done anything like that, likely they're going to be more comfortable in that type of environment to share. And now when I go to make a new connection, it doesn't feel so weird because the common denominator is the person that I met. A client of mine did this recently to another connection of mine. And it just so happened that they were looking for a person to fill a role. And because my client is connected to me and the hiring manager is also connected to me, it was very easy to make that connection. But if you don't know how to network, if you have not taken time to identify to leverage that pivot framework, you're going to find yourself in the same circle. This is why I'm telling you, you need to be able to pivot with purpose. Now, listen, I am giving y'all a whole masterclass on social media. People pay for this kind of information. So I want to make sure that you guys are getting it. So if you're getting it, because y'all are real quiet with me, I want to make sure that you're getting it. I want you to tell me, I got it. I got it. I got it. Suze, I got it. Because let me tell you what the next aspect of this is. Oh, and this one, I promise you, it's going to come for your whole throat. It's going to come for your whole throat. And I don't even think y'all are ready. I don't know if I should share this one. I got a whole bonus one. I don't know. Should I share it, y'all? If you want the bonus, I want you to type bonus in the chat. Bonus. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If y'all want the bonus, I want you to type bonus in the chat. All right. I see some of y'all are saying bonus. All right. Here's the bonus. Listen, y'all caught me on a good day. I am being quite generous today. For those of you who are watching me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube, I just dropped the link where you can get more information for the resume bootcamp. And LinkedIn is being real funny, y'all. So if you're watching me on LinkedIn and you cannot see my comments, do me a favor and send me a DM so like that I can get to you. Okay, my love? Okay, so here's the bonus part. The part that comes next. Right? I've given you a whole lot of information in the last half an hour. And there are quite a number of you hanging with me today. I've given you a whole lot of information. Here's where a lot of people will get stuck. You'll get stuck you'll get stuck in the area of, I need the confidence and I need the clarity. So we go back and forth. Susana, I need clarity. Susana, I need confidence. Susana, I need clarity. Baby, you need action. Clarity comes by doing. I tell this to my clients all the time. Clarity comes by doing. And here's where I don't want you to get tripped up, because some of y'all think that you have to take massive steps in order to see this major change. And that's not necessarily true. Okay? Small steps lead to big progress. I'm going to say that again. Small steps lead to big progress. So when I'm telling you to take action, maybe it's just you writing out the pivot framework and starting with the letter P, identifying what is your why and what are your core goals or your core values. But I need you to take action, because in taking action, you build the confidence. And after you have built that confidence, you gain the clarity. And after you've gained the clarity, now you're not afraid and you keep doing it again. So then you take another action step. Then your confidence gets stronger a little bit more. Then you get a little bit clearer after having a conversation or after reaching out to someone. And then you're like, you know what? It's not as bad as I made it to myself. But here's where I find a lot of people get stuck. Here's where I find a lot of people get stuck, because a lot of y'all get stuck in analysis paralysis. So you spend endless days on the letter P of the pivot framework. And then you spend endless days on the letter I. And meanwhile, opportunities are passing you by. And now you're frustrated at work because yet again, there's been a restructure. They've brought somebody in. You're the most qualified person for the position. But because this person knows someone else, they're putting them in that position. Or because there's no budget right now, we're going to reevaluate in 3 months. It's been 12 years and they have been evaluating for the last 3 months. They've been evaluating for the last 12 years. So how much more time are you going to let lapse? What's it going to take for you to continue moving forward? The resume bootcamp, my love, let me tell you, it's going down May 7th. And the reason why the resume bootcamp is what I start with is because many of y'all, when you book a consultation with us or when you are looking to transition or pivot, some of y'all haven't touched your resume since the last time that you applied for the position that you're currently in. And for some of y'all, that was a solid 10 years ago. Some of you have never had to interview for a role, and now you find yourself in a position where you in fact have to interview and you are stressed out because you've not updated a resume. You don't know what to say during an interview. It makes you really nervous. You know what's interesting too, because there's a lot of this in my tribe, in my squad. Some of you are already hiring managers, you're HR directors, you're already in a position where you read resumes often. You know what works and what doesn't work, but for some reason when it comes to you, ooh, we get really nervous. We get really scared. And you don't have to do it alone. Because now, after the information that I've given you, truth is, you have 3 options. The first is you can do nothing. You have sat through 35 minutes of me talking, just yapping, and you've just let it wash over you, but you do nothing with it. The second is that you will try to DIY it as much as possible. You will. You'll look for every single possible video and listen to every single possible one of my lives. Or you'll go to YouTube University, which is also filled with resources. But for some reason or another, you can't seem to make the connection. Because, And then the third option is that you can get help. And that's by commenting Pivot on IG so that you can get the link, or on Facebook and YouTube, going to the website so that you can register. Because again, how much longer are we going to let it lapse? How much time are you going to let go by? You know you're ready to make a pivot. For some of you, it's pivoting into another role. For some of you, it's pivoting in place. And what do I mean by pivoting in place? I mean that you have been serving at a mid-level role and you have your eye on that director role because you know you can do it. You're probably already doing the work for that role. But you're afraid. You don't know who to talk to, or you're afraid that if you say something, you'll feel guilty, because there's this weird feeling of guilt that attacks women specifically. Not so much the men that we work with, but women, I find that it attacks us because the lie that we've been coached to believe through society is you should be grateful that you have a job. You should be thankful that at least you have something. When your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health is being drained day in and day out. And your response is, I feel guilty, like I'm happy. I don't want them to think that I'm doing too much or that I'm ungrateful. Baby, closed mouths don't get fed. I'm just saying. So if this Pivot with Purpose Live has helped you and you know that you need the help, I'm going to ask you, how much more is it going to cost you to wait? Some of the people that come to the resume boot camps, they see change almost immediately. And sometimes it's not even getting the position right away. They walk away with so much confidence because they're like, dang, I really was doing all of that. I really was playing small. And for some of them, with the resume template that they get as soon as you register, it's like, oh, my resume don't look like this at all. The bonus too that you get when you register is that you get the resume bootcamp workbook. So you get the template, right, which is awesome. You can get templates anywhere. But the workbook, in the workbook, not only do I break down the template, but I also give you common interview questions. I give you the STAR framework, and then I have areas where you can practice your responses. So like that, when you go on an interview, you're not freaking out. You know exactly how to fashion your responses. Because here's the truth. You are either going to make a change while you can, or, and I see this happen often, or your heart will be in your throat when you get that Friday afternoon email for a quick chat with HR. Now, hear me and hear me well. That quick chat could be a promotion. It could be. But Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and the end of the day is at 5. And all of a sudden, HR is interested in having a quick chat with you. What do you think is coming happen? What do you think is coming next? Come on. I need y'all to talk back to me. If that's happening, or if that has happened, or if that were to happen to you this week, what would you think? Come on. What would you think? Mm-hmm. And so I don't want you to wait until you get something like that and then have your whole life turned upside down. You might as well be ready. There is nothing wrong with having your documents ready to go. They might be putting you on a PIP, which is a performance improvement plan. It's time for you to prepare your documents. Because a PIP, yes, some people end up well on a PIP. Most don't. Again, coming from your hiring manager bestie. So get ready so you can stay ready. Okay? So let me break this down to you again. These were the things that we talked about today. The first thing that you need to understand when you are pivoting in with purpose is, number one, you need to understand that your experience is currency. The second thing that you need to understand when you're pivoting with purpose is that you have the permission to dream again. Don't let other people's lies infiltrate how you make decisions. The fourth thing is to activate the pivot framework. I broke it down for you. I told you what each letter stood for. You need to identify which one you need to start with. I gave you a full networking script so that if you're not sure what to say, I told you how to introduce yourself. I told you what to say in the middle, the bridge, and I told you how to ask. I'm telling you, I'm giving you a whole masterclass. And the last thing that I shared with you is the confidence clarity loop, where you take small action, you build your confidence, you gain clarity, and you repeat the cycle. Okay? So this is how you pivot with purpose. And this is coming from someone who walked away from a 6-figure position. So the reason that I talk to you about 6 figures is because I've earned them before. And for many people, 6 figures is safe. Truth is, I think all of us should be making 6 figures because it is significantly impactful, not only for you in the now, but if you know how to steward it well, it's for the legacies and the generations that come after you. And so on May 7th, we're going to be starting with one small step. And that is joining me at the Resume Bootcamp. You choose. You choose. What is the lie that you're going to choose to believe? Or are you going to choose to take action? Okay? So did this help anybody? If this helped you, I want you to tell me, give me a 5 in the chat. If this helped you, I want you to drop a 5 in the chat. If this helped you, I want you to drop a 5 in the chat. Because, baby, this was a full masterclass. This was a full masterclass on how to pivot with purpose. I told y'all it was going to be good. I told y'all. Because, y'all, listen. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I have about five-ish minutes to be able to take some questions. And I see that some of you have questions in the chat. Do not delay, okay? I keep the Resume Bootcamp small on purpose because it's highly personalized, and I also review resumes in real time, okay? So let's get to your questions. Let me see. So if you have a question, okay. If you have a question, I want you to drop your question in the question bubble on IG. There is like a little call out with like a question mark. You can drop your question there, and I will answer it. But you got to move quick, my love, okay? Because I only got 5 minutes before we need to shut down. So yeah, I want to make sure that I can answer your questions. I hope that as you are commenting Pivot, you are getting the information that you need. Okay. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anybody's questions. All right. I'm trying to look through the chat, so I apologize if I look weird, but I saw a couple questions come in and I'm trying to get to them. But this is why going through the chat gets hard, because y'all are loving on me and I appreciate that. But I don't want you to feel like, oh, she didn't listen to me. Okay. All right, y'all. I guess y'all don't have any questions. Okay. Let's see. How about doing a 360 pivot into another sector? Again, that's a great question. So how do you make a pivot into another sector? My love, everything that I shared with you today can be applied when you're going into a whole nother sector. Because just because you're going to a whole nother sector does not mean that the skills that you have are not transferable. You need to get clear on those. And that's one of the things that we talk about at the bootcamp. Let's see, how do I continue to address the realignment of title, however, not the duties? Linda, I'm not sure I understand the question. So I'm going to assume that they keep changing your title, but they don't change your duties. I would start detailing what it is that you do on the everyday. And then once you have a clear and definitive picture of what that looks like, I would schedule some time with your supervisor, with your manager, so like that you can get more clarity surrounding what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Question I got is, will this hold for 1099 positions? Yes, this will hold for 1099 positions. When you are a 1099 employee, you are, and I think this is true for any role, you are an enterprise of one. So just because you are a contractor, okay, does not mean that you should not be able to leverage that same pivot framework. Because if it's working for you as a contractor in one section and in one area, you now can identify what are the gaps in another industry where I can still leverage my strong suit. Let me help y'all, okay? Because I feel like sometimes when you're thinking through, oh, it doesn't apply for every section. I worked in higher education, okay? That's what I did before you see what you see me doing now. That's where I was. And then prior to higher education, I was in insurance sales. Both of those industries are significantly different. But what they thrive on is being able to build relationships, being able to break down complex problems into bite-sized pieces. And they leverage the ability to educate either the client or the consumer in insurance, or the student and the new family in higher education. That's how you're able to identify your transferable skills. Okay. So just because you're a 1099 employee, or just because you're going from one industry to another, you need to be able to identify what that looks like. What is your unique value add? Let's see. Question here is, how do you know when the company is dangling that proverbial carrot? When every single time that you go to ask for either a raise, or you're asking for a different title, or you want to move into a different type of position, if every single time it's met with some kind of vague response, oh, we have to think about it, or we don't have any budget, or maybe we can reassess in the new year, if that's the response you're always getting, they playing in your face, my friend. And like, we don't have time for games. Okay, so you want to pay attention to those things. But that was a great question. All right, last question. Last question I'll take is, what is the average years of experience needed for an executive position? I feel like there's layers to this question, because it's not always about the years of experience. It's how closely can you solve, no, not how closely, how well can you solve a problem, and how well can you articulate the value that you bring for that position. So for example, I know of folks who are in executive roles and they only have about maybe 4 or 5 years of experience, but they're very good at articulating their value. They're very good at being able to assess what the problem is and then being able to create the solution for said problem. And they've been able to develop their leadership skills. So it's not always about just the years of experience, it's your ability to articulate your value, your ability to solve problems, and your ability to be able to build relationships. So that's how you're able to really get a better understanding of what it takes for an executive position. I could tell you, having been an executive myself, we don't have a lot of time. So if you are trying to get to an executive level, or you're trying to position yourself for an executive position, you got to be able to lead with the bottom line first. You got to be able to identify the problem, but also identify the solution. As an executive, I already knew that we had problems. So I was always going to gravitate more to the people who would help me to think through solutions for said problems. Got it? So I hope that that answered your question in terms of like the information that you're looking for. All right, y'all. So I love y'all. Thank you so much for rocking with your girl. I hope that today's Pivot with Purpose was helpful. I hope that you got some very clear action steps on what your next step is. And I hope to see you at the Resume Bootcamp. Don't get upset when the price goes up and you're like, oh, I should have registered when she said so. I'm just saying. Okay. So I am going to let y'all go. Thank you again for rocking with me, and I will catch y'all on the next one. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your day and the most amazing rest of your week. And I will catch you on the next live. All righty, y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.